You can generate videos using the best AI model available to you, but they'll still come out looking amateur because you don't know what actually makes a shot look cinematic. And after a lot of testing, I figured out what makes the difference. It's a handful of decisions you have to make while writing the prompt. So in this video, I'll show you the exact process to go from amateur results to fully cinematic shots using my simple prompt structure framework. So decision number 1 is how far away everything in your shot is from the camera. And this is the one almost everybody skips. And by the way, for the generations in this video, I will be using Higgsfield. It's an all-in-one AI platform with the top video and image generation models, and the link is down in the description if you want to follow along. I'll hover on video in the top navigation bar and then create video, and the model is already set to Seedance 2.0, which is what every generation in this video runs on. By the time you're watching this, Seedance 2.5 will already be out and available on Higgsfield. Then I'll open the duration and push it to 15 seconds. I will switch the aspect ratio to 21:9, which is the cinematic ratio we are all used to seeing, and I select 4K as the resolution. Bitrate is already on high, and the audio toggle inside the prompt box is on too. This matters because our videos will need audio in them too. Now I'll paste this in and hit generate.
Not today.
The woman comes riding in with these huge, heavy black clouds built all the way up the sky behind her, like a cloudburst is about to happen. You've got dust kicking up off the ground into the wind behind the horse, exactly the way it would in real life. Then the shot cuts, and the camera pulls focus off the fence onto our main character's face. So now the fence and the wires are the blurry part. There's smoke like mist coming off the horse every time it breathes out. And I really like how the golden light only just catches the side of our character. None of that camera work or that placement is something Seedance came up with on its own. My prompt is split up into labeled sections, and I'm going to call those blocks. And the one doing all the work here is called first frame and spatial blocking. That's where I told it exactly where to put everything. Blurry grass across the bottom third of the frame, our rider in the middle at 35% across, and the storm wall filling the top 2/3 behind her. And you have to write it that precisely on purpose, because if you just say grass in the foreground, the model gets to decide how much and where, and then it doesn't do as you intended. And the reason my video looks cinematic is that there's always something blurry in the foreground in front of her. Now to show you how much that one blurry layer is actually doing, I'll put it next to a shot that has none, with every setting exactly the same. Here our character is an old fisherman inspecting his net on a beach, and you can hear seagulls in the background, along with the waves and the net moving in his hands. Then it cuts to the same Nan doing the same thing, only now the camera is low and off to the side, shooting through a rack of hanging nets that go blurry across the left of the frame, with 2 boats behind him and rocks fading off into the haze behind bows. Another nice detail is his clothes creasing and stretching every time he moves. In my prompt, one block called format mode tells the AI to fit both parts of the video into one continuous shot and where to cut between them. Another block called locks tells it to keep his clothes, his net, and the light exactly the same on both sides of that cut. If I'd run these 2 cuts as 2 separate videos, I'd have got a different fisherman and different light both times. And by comparison, you can see how much depth the second part of the video has compared to the first one, because of the blurred effects created by the objects close to the camera and far away from our character. You can also build that same depth without putting anything in front of the camera at all, so I'll use the same settings with a new prompt. In this one, we've got our little boat with the 2 guys on it going across the water, and then after about a second, this giant cargo ship just starts appearing straight out of the mist. The closer it gets, the more claustrophobic it feels, because the ship is so close now that there's barely any space left in the frame. That's one video with no cuts in it at all, and the decision here is in a block I call Death Law. You know how hills far away go pale and washed out, while everything close to you looks sharp and dark? That is because the further an object is, the more empty air you are having to look through. So I wrote exactly that into the prompt. The little pilot boat is the closest thing in the shot, so it's the sharpest and the darkest, and then everything behind it goes a bit paler and a bit softer the further back it sits. Your eyes have been doing that their whole life, so the moment the ship looks pale and soft, you assume it's far away, and something that far away that's still filling half the screen has to be absolutely massive. I also told it the engine noise should slowly get louder the whole way through, so you can hear the ship coming before you can properly see it. So that's decision 1, and it's just distance. Every shot needs 3 things sitting at 3 different distances from the camera, and you have to write down where each one goes. If you do do that, your shots will look much better. But there's a second decision in all three of those prompts that I skipped, and it changes how big the world around your subject feels. So the second decision is your lens, and it's one single member that does something to distance nothing else in the prompt can. The only thing I'll change in the settings is the duration, and I'll drop that down to 8 seconds. Everything else stays exactly the same, so I'll paste in this prompt and hit generate. We've got this really wide shot where you can see giant mountains covered in cloud and mist, and our main character is walking around the car taking in the view. There's a little stream of water running beside the narrow road, and some nice small details like the rocks and the fuzzy yellow grass over the soil. And the whole frame keeps opening up because the camera is pulling backwards the entire time. To control all of that, I use the optics block in my prompt, where I told it the shot is an 84-degree wide angle, how far the camera sits from the car, and what has to stay in focus. 84 degrees is really wide, so the mountains on both sides and the whole valley all fit into one frame, and the man ends up at about 5% of the frame height. I also have the camera slowly rolling backwards for the entire 8 seconds, so the frame keeps opening up and more of the terrain keeps arriving at the edges. Next, I'll drop the optics number down to 47 and see what we get. Here an eagle comes gliding down and lands right on the falconer's glove, with the sun low and golden so it's late in the day. The dust kicks up off the ground from the flaps of its wings, and you can see individual strands of grass on the hills behind. 47 degrees is roughly what your own eyes see when you look straight ahead, so nothing is stretched and nothing is squashed. Next, I'll write a new prompt. Change the optics number to 8 and hit generate. As you can see, the metal pillars close to the camera are blurred right out, and there's a train coming straight at us in an open desert field with loads of dust flying off it like mist. Then a bunch of little birds fly off the rail track, and near the end of the shot, the blur on both sides clears up and you get this really close-up effect like the train is about to hit the camera. 8 degrees is like looking down a long tube, so you only see a tiny slice of what's in front of you, and when you're only seeing that little, everything gets pushed flat together and looks like it's all sitting the same distance away. So the train is going full speed the whole 8 seconds, and it still barely looks like it's moving that much, because there's no depth left in the shot for your eye to watch it come through. Our last shot has no degree number at all. I just mentioned in the prompt that it's an extreme macro shot. We got this super close-up shot of a human eye, and you can see the eyelids making tiny little movements like it was actually filmed by a real person. Halfway through, you can also see the iris itself moving, and there's little spots and veins on the white part of the eye here. It really delivered an actual macro shot. So that's decision 2, and it's just one number in the optics block. Determine how much field of view you want in your video, and add instructions with a separate block. The bigger the number, the wider your frame will be, and the smaller the number, the lower it will be. But the Valley one had the camera physically rolling backwards the whole time, and that's a separate decision I hadn't explained yet. So the third decision is how the camera moves, and the only thing that actually matters is why it's moving. I'll push the duration back up to 15 seconds for this one and leave everything else alone, then paste in the prompt and hit generate. This shot looks like a drone was following our main subject, which would explain why the camera movement is so precise. But that's not what happened. I used a separate block called camera, where I explained in detail how the camera should move and why, and it followed the instructions properly. That block is completely separate from optics. Optics is what lens you're on, camera is what the camera physically does. And the reason this one feels so fast is something called parallax. When you move, the stuff close to you flies past, and the stuff far away barely shifts at all. And that difference is how your brain works out how fast you're going. So I wrote that straight into the prompt. The near cliffs and climb tops rip past as blurred streaks, the middle slopes slide by steadily, and the glacier right at the back creeps along almost not at all. If you just tell it to move the camera fast, everything in the frame moves at the same rate and it doesn't feel like anything because nothing in the shot is making you feel what speed you're going. Next, I'll drop the duration back down to 8 seconds and see what this prompt gives us. We've got a person riding a kayak down a narrow stream of water between two mountain walls, and the water is moving really rough and fast. You can hear how exhausted our character is from his breathing. And when the water slams into him, little droplets stick to the lens and catch the light. This one's called a mount, and it means the camera is physically bolted to the head of our character. I also put the optics number at 84, so the walls wrap right out to the edges of the frame, and it feels like you're sat in the boat. And I specifically told it no stabilization and no smoothing, because the roughness is the entire point of a mounted shot. Now our next generations all use the same character, so before I create any videos, I'll need one picture of him. I'll click image in the top navigation bar, and then create image. And in the model dropdown, it's set set to Nano Banana Pro by default, so I'll switch that over to GPT Image 2. Then I'll change the aspect ratio to 16:9 because this is one wide sheet with 3 panels sitting side by side, and I'll bump the quality up from 1K to 4K. Next, I'll paste in the sheet prompt and generate. We got a 3-part view of our character from multiple angles. In the first one, we get a really detailed look at his outfit: a blue jacket with black patches on the elbows, black trousers, rugged boots, and a pair of gloves, all built for cold weather. And in the far right image, we get a close look at his face, and you can pick out the little details: the redness across parts of his skin and the scar over his eyebrow. In the middle, you've got his back. I'll use this one image every single time I generate a new shot of him, because if you don't, and just paste a written description of your character into each prompt, the model changes little details every time it regenerates, and he will end up looking like a completely different person in every shot. So now I'll head back to the video section, set the duration to 10 seconds, put the character sheet in, click check eligibility, paste my prompt, and hit generate. The video starts with our character collecting up a rope off the ground, and then he suddenly hears a loud sound and goes alert. There's white mist forming every time he breathes out, which is a nice little detail, and you can see on his face that he's worried about what that sound was. Then the camera moves in towards him, and once it's right on his face, everything in the background blurs out. Now for the next video, I'll paste in this prompt and hit generate. We've got our character dragging a sledge with supplies on top of it, and the whole landscape looks like somewhere in Antarctica with giant blocks of ice. And the frame is moving along with him the whole way. It's sitting 6 meters to his side, walking at exactly the same pace he is. And for our last video, I'll just swap in the prompt and see what we get. The camera starts right over his shoulder and then lifts 30 meters straight up, drifting backwards as it goes. As you saw, decision 3 is about how the camera will move, and this also depends on the type of shot you are taking. So before deciding anything, ask yourself what type of camera movement will be needed here and why. But there's one more decision that'll do more for a face than any camera move can, and if you only fixed one thing on this whole list, it'd be that one. So decision number 4 is where your light is coming from, and it's the one where most people don't actually decide anything at all. Duration goes back up to 15 seconds and everything else stays where it is. So I'll paste in this prompt and hit generate.
Steady! Keep her steady!
Got a really detailed video of a metal workshop, all dark, with the orange molten metal as the main focus. And it's the only light in the entire building. No ceiling lights, no lamps, nothing else anywhere in there. That's the one thing I told the lighting block, and it does all the work. Next up, I'll keep the settings the same and paste in this new prompt. In this one, we can see an old man sitting in a room all by himself, and the video is split into 3 equal 5-second chunks with different lighting on each one. The only thing I changed between each of the scenes is where the light source comes from. In the first one, I put a window off to his left, so half his face is bright and half is dark, and he comes out looking stern like somebody is questioning him. Then I moved that same window directly behind him, so his face goes almost black with just a bright line around the edge of him, and now you can't tell what he's thinking at all. And the last one is at night with a single oil lamp on the table just below the frame, so the light comes up at his face from underneath and he ends up warm and tired. There's one more thing all 3 of these have in common, which is that you can always point at the thing making the light, also known as the light source. A window, then the window again, then the lamp, and how you control that depends on what you're after. If the light stays the same the whole way through, you can write it once in the lighting block, like I did with the Foundry. And if you want it to change partway through, you have to break the video into segments and write the lighting into each one separately, which is what I did here. As you saw, decision 4 is about where your light comes from, and it can change the whole feeling of a scene without you touching anything else. So before you write your prompt, ask yourself what's actually making the light in this scene, and which side of your subject it should be hitting. But there's a decision I've been making in every single prompt since the start of this video, and I haven't mentioned it once yet. So decision number 5 is which colors are allowed in your shot, and the whole trick is taking colors away rather than adding them. For these generations, everything stays exactly where it is, so I'll paste in the first prompt and hit generate.
It's opening up. I've never seen it this alive.
There are only 2 colors in that entire video, orange and black, and nothing else was allowed in anywhere. That's written into the lighting block as a list of things it isn't allowed to do. No moonlight, no blue tones, no white highlights, and the shadows go all the way to pure black. For the next video, I'll paste in this prompt and see what it gives us.
Deck to Hy-Vee 1, wind steady, cleared to land.
In this shot, the contrast between the tealish blue and the bright orange is very noticeable, and the natural things in the video like the sky and the ocean are all that tealish blue, while everything man-made, such as the lamp lights, the glow sticks, and the warning lights on the helicopter, are all orange. So it makes a really nice distinction, and the whole shot ends up looking great. And again, I've also described which colors to absolutely not include, so no green, no magenta, no neutral daylight are in the video. For the last one, I'll paste in the third prompt and leave everything alone. Here I drained the whole thing down to gray, steel, bone white, and charcoal, and I even made the skin tones gray as well. Then I let exactly one saturated object exist in the entire frame, which is the red umbrella, so it stands out sharply against everything around it, and that contrast makes the umbrella more noticeable in the frame. So to color grade a video like these, you first have to pick your color tones for the shot beforehand, not after. Then you can write them into the prompt under the lighting block, or under a combined lighting and palette block, like I used on these last two. And make sure you say which colors to leave out, because removing colors is more important than adding them. But even if you get all 5 of these right, a video can still look AI generated, and it's got nothing to do with any of the blocks I've shown you so far. Next decision is making it look like a real person was holding the camera, and it comes down to including mistakes on purpose. The settings will stay exactly where they are, so I'll paste in this prompt and generate.
Wave, hold on! Hold on!
The camera block here says there's an actual person standing on that deck with the camera on his shoulder. Every one of those is a mistake, and that's exactly why it looks real. If you don't say anything, the AI gives you a shot so perfectly steady, sharp, and clean that nobody filming on a boat in a storm could ever have made it, and that's the thing that makes it look fake. So you have to ask for the mistakes on purpose, which is why the waves smear when he swings the camera fast, why a fat water droplet sticks to the lens and stays there for the rest of the video, and why the picture goes fuzzy for a second every time spray crosses in front of him. And I also mentioned that the video should not have any gimbal smoothness or artificial jitter, and that is why our cameraman looks like he's struggling to film the footage. Next, with the same settings, I'll paste in the prompt and hit generate. This one goes the complete opposite way. The camera is set on a tripod 300 meters back, and it barely moves at all. All of the movement comes from the camels. They walk into the frame, cross it, and then the lead rider turns down the slope towards you, and that's the entire shot. I also put the optics number at 18 for this video, so it's a long lens and all the dune ridges stack up flat behind each other, same as the train earlier. And that's the point. Your camera doesn't have to move if your subject is moving through the frame, and holding still is a decision as much as anything else. Before you write your prompt, decide whether that's a person or a machine, and if it's a person, write in the mistakes they'd make on purpose, because it's those small tweaks that make your shots look like a real thing filmed them. But 15 seconds is the longest video Seedance will give you, and I still haven't shown you what to do when you need more than that. And the last decision is about how you can make 2 separate videos feel like a continuous one, and this is the only one that doesn't finish inside the prompt. I'll head back into Create Image with GPT Image 2 still selected, because I need 2 pictures before I generate any video at all. The first one is a character sheet, exactly the same as the one I made earlier, just with a different person. We got our character sheet with the person's outfit on the left, his posture and body from behind in the middle, and his facial details on the far right. And for the second image, I'll need a picture of the room with nobody inside it. Next, let's go back to the video section with both images attached and the duration at 15 seconds. This will be our first half of the video, and the important thing about it is where it stops. It ends at the peak of the tension, with the sound climbing and nothing resolved, which means the second video has something to catch. So for that one, I'll paste in this prompt and hit generate. It starts the instant the first one ended, with the window already breaking. The camera also cuts between shots as needed, so a wide in the first part, then close up on the old man's face, and then another angle again when he gives the ball back to the kid. And the last part of this happens outside of Higgsfield. I'll drop both videos into CapCut one after the other, with a straight cut between them and no transition effect at all. Then I'll build the sound on top, and each thing sits on its own audio track underneath the video. Music running under the whole thing, a TV anchor playing in the background, a swoosh across the join, a sharp hit on the impact, and a heartbeat at 54 beats a minute holding the tension. Any video editor can do this. It doesn't have to be CapCut. Then I'll play the whole thing back to check everything is lined up and export it.
And lots of snowfall as well. Looking at the upper air pattern, we can see that the cold air that's been across us over the course of the last week has been pushed away into the Atlantic. The mild air that was over the Atlantic has come back in and essentially has replaced
So going back to the start of this video, your shots aren't coming out amateur because of the model you're using. They're coming out amateur because you didn't structure your prompt with the decisions it actually needed. Every video has multiple elements to tune, such as the camera lens, movement, lighting, color grading, action scenes, and etc. If you just paste in a single one-liner and hope the results come out incredible, you will be disappointed. And you can grab the prompts and see exactly how that structure is laid out in the free resource down below. All of this does take longer than typing one sentence and hitting generate, but what you get back is something you can actually use instead of a random AI video made with no intention behind it at all. And Seedance is just one of the models sitting inside Higgsfield. Every other video and image model is in there too, so you can run these same blocks through whatever fits your shot. So sign up to Higgsfield through the link in the description and put your first prompt together with these decisions in it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.